Hi, welcome to the second session of the Frappe Developer Training videos. This is a screencast that has been jointly recorded by Anand and myself. This is Rishabh here. Hope hope you've gone through the first session and we've been able to create your app and install the app in the site. Um, as we just ended the first session, once you create your app, you can log in using the login name administrator admin password or whatever password you've set, and then quickly go through the setup wizard and set your location settings. What we will do in this tutorial is create doc types. So this brings us to our first thought bubble of this session. What are doc types? You will hear this term a lot if you're developing Frappe apps. In Frappe, everything is a doc type. It's basically a model in your typical model view controller architecture. A doc type is a customer is a doc type, a user is a doc type, uh, an account is a doc type, a sales order is a doc type, an invoice is a doc type. So it's basically a model. Uh, it has all the properties of what that particular model will do. And along with the model, a doc type also represents a table in the database. So every time you create a doc type, you create a table in the database, and that's not always true. Sometimes you have doc types that are secret doc types that don't really have a table. Doc type also represents a view. A view in the Frappe framework is usually a form or a list or a report, and these are automatically generated from doc types. So that was our first thought bubble. Let's go ahead and make some doc types in the screencast. So as you remember, we are building an application to help us manage meetings, and with so the first thing in a Frappe app is you create a doc type. Everything in Frappe is a doc type. For example, a customer is a doc type, a user is a doc type, even a doc type is a doc type, and every object in your application has to be a doc type. So let us create the first doc type called meeting. So this is our basic structure. We'll have a meeting where we'll record the from time to time, the agenda, minutes, attendees, and other details about the minute. So we can quickly create all the fields the uh, of the doc type. So yeah, hi. So this brings us to the second thought bubble of our session, doc fields. So every doc type has a bunch of fields which are called doc fields. These fields represent properties of the doc type. Like if the doc type is about a customer, then it probably represents customer's first name, last name, email, and all of that. Doc types also represent the layout of the form, like if there are section and column breaks, and there are a whole bunch of field types like select fields, data field, number fields, date fields that you can use. Now let's get back to the screencast. As you can see, there are different types of fields. There are date data is a basic field type. Then you can have date time fields. You can have time. You have links. So links are foreign keys. Links can be linked to another doc type. You have check boxes. You have select boxes, and not different kinds of fields that you can define for your doc type. You can also set fields as mandatory, as read-only. You may want certain fields to be indexed. You may want certain fields to appear in the list views. So you can set all your settings here. Next, we add the status field, which will be a select type field, and in the options, we can give all the different options that the user can choose. For example, a meeting can be planned, it could be in progress, it could be completed, cancelled. So these are all options that you can get the user to select. Next, we just save this doc type. once when you save, it will prompt you for the name, so which is called as a meeting. But it won't let you save this because you have to at least enter one permission. So permissions are also linked to DocType. So hi, welcome to our third thought bubble of this session. We've seen DocTypes, we've seen fields, now we're seeing DocPerm. So every DocType also has a bunch of permissions related to it. Permissions in Frappe are role based. So that means that for a user can have multiple roles, and the permissions to the DocTypes are also related to roles. So if it's an invoice, then you can have the accountant role have the permission to read an invoice or write an invoice, and then you can have multiple users being accountants. So that was a quick overview of DocPerm. Now let's get back to our screencast. In Frappe, you have role-based permissions, so you can define roles. So this is uh, currently the system may have certain roles that are predefined, but you can always create a new role. So let us create a new role called meeting manager. So this is the person who can manage all the meetings. And within the permission rule, we can define what different permission this role has. For example, read, write, create, cancel, etc. And so once we create the new role, um, uh, uh, let us enter one more thing, the subject. So how do we name the meeting? Every document has to be named. For example, a customer has a name. So anything that has a name, we define it as title. So that's a standard practice we use. And then in the title field setting, you can define it to be a title. So whenever a meeting will be listed, it will be listed by its title. Then you can also define a way to name the meeting. So for example, you may have a series, or you may have a series for meetings. You can call it meeting one, meeting two, etc. And let's just so in Frappe, you can either define this by a method, or you can just define it in the autoname function. So the autoname function has certain rules which you can use. For example, if you use a hash, it will just automatically give a number instead of the hash. So you quickly, it can be named by a field, it could be named by a naming series or a hash. So let's just call it meeting. Now let's save it. So we've just saved the DocType called meeting now, and you can see the title has been set. So we can quickly go to another tab, and we can just so now since we've given this role to the administrator, we need to give the minute manager role to the administrator, but by default all new roles are automatically given to the administrator. So as we've seen a module called meeting, and you can create a meeting, and the form automatically shows the title, the date, and other stuff that we have defined for the meeting based on the fields that we define in the DocType. So so we can add new fields on the fly. We can do a lot of stuff. As you see, we haven't even gone inside any code yet, and a lot of the stuff in Frappe has been designed so that uh, you can easily create new DocTypes and modify them. Now let us create another DocType for the meeting agenda or the meeting attendees. So in Frappe, you have a concept of a grid inside a form, and this is a very standard pattern we use in lot of in many places. It's called a parent and a child relationship. So the form inside another form is called a child form. Hi, welcome to the fourth thought bubble of the second session. Here we'll discuss briefly about child tables. So we've seen that when you create a DocType, a form is created. Sometimes a form has child entities. Let's see a meeting example. Here you can have multiple attendees for a meeting, and these attendees are probably a part of the meeting itself. So what we do is we create another DocType for the meeting attendee, and then we have a parent DocType meeting, and the way the parent and the children are related is through a table field. So table field is a type of a doc field, and obviously it does not have a column in the database, but it links child tables to parent tables. So back to the screencast, and it displays as a grid, and when you click on the grid row, it expands into a form. So the agenda of a meeting, so a meeting has multiple agendas. So now we have defined a new doc type called meeting agenda, and then we will, in the parent doc type, we will link it as a table field. So what we will see in the form is a table for agenda. In the options, you will define what table it will look like. So when we just go and refresh this form, now it has a grid here, and you've defined an agenda. We have set this to be a text editor field, so we can use rich text to define the agenda. And um, so now let us also basically quickly make the form look nicer. So we can we can define an agenda, we can define section breaks and column breaks in DocTypes. So the form looks a bit more organized. You can have different you can have sections that are collapsible or that are always shown. So since we defined agenda as a collapsible section, it will be not shown by default. This helps to make your form look a bit nicer and cleaner. So when you create a doc type, its table is also automatically created, and you can quickly go into MySQL using the bench command, bench MySQL, and then we can see the tables that have been created. So when you see show tables, you can see that two tables have been created for meeting and meeting agenda. All tables in Frappe are prefixed by tab. So every a doc type meeting has a table tab meeting. And as you can see, when you see the columns, you have a bunch of standard columns like name, creation, modified date, parent field, and then all the custom fields that you added like title and description. So that's the end of session 2, and in session 3 we'll learn more about how to make doc types look nicer and richer. Thanks again, and see you in session 3.